What's up? In this video, I've got kind of a controversial take, and my take is that I think AI has made learning to code harder. And those of you that have watched some of my other videos might feel like that's a contradiction to some of my earlier points, because I've said if you're the sort of person who is motivated to study on your own, then AI can be a tremendous accelerant to your learning. It can make it very easy to learn a lot of things that were previously hard to learn on account of domain knowledge being sort of sequestered in academia and it being really hard to get unstuck on stuff when you don't have an instructor or a knowledgeable person to tap on the shoulder and ask questions. But frankly, I think for something like coding and just, programming, software engineering, whatever phrase you want to use, I think having access to AI does different things for different people. So if you're somebody who already knows how to code and you learned how to do it before AI, then AI just makes your life easier because you already have a good understanding of how the programming languages work, of how computers work, and you also have developed a bit of taste for what good code and bad code looks like. And so when you're writing code with AI, it's almost like you're a senior engineer and the AI is a junior engineer who can give you output really, really fast, and you still have to review it and you have to perturb it in the right direction. But generally, you can produce decent output with it if you are careful and you don't just go full, dangerously skip permissions mode. But if you're someone who's trying to learn how to code, you don't have that prior experience to know how to use AI effectively and to use it in a way that is not detrimental to the output of the code that you're writing. So, for example, if you are trying to learn Python and you're working with AI, it can be extremely easy to just say, what's the point of me even learning the syntax when the AI can just remember it for me? Why bother learning the syntax of a class constructor method when the AI does it for me every time? And I think it becomes really dangerous because this is true in every other topic, but especially in programming where it's essential that you develop just some fundamental skills that transfer across languages, across paradigms, across settings. If you have access to AI from the beginning, it's going to be very tempting to use it whenever you feel stuck or overwhelmed or generally just bored with what you're trying to learn. And if you do that, you're never going to develop the core skills that every programmer should have. And as a result, you're never going to, understand the code deeply enough that the AI is giving you that you can coherently decide if it's good or bad. If you already have written a lot of code yourself and you understand how it works, then you can look at the output from AI generated code and you can say, oh yeah, clearly this is a mistake, this is bad, or this was unnecessary. That's probably one of the biggest things is AI likes to have a lot of redundancy and fail safes and things like that and comments and stuff in the code that is not really helpful, but honestly it's probably more helpful for it to go back and document later what it did previously than it is for the human reader. So if you've written code yourself, you already have an understanding of what is good and bad, and you can be a good judge of any code that's before you, whether it's human written or AI generated. But if you've never done that before, then you could say, okay, ChatGPT, generate me a Python script to do this. You don't know the difference between good and bad because you've never been the architect of your own output, right? If you're using AI to do all of the coding for you and you've never done it yourself, then how are you going to be the judge of what is and isn't good code? Because all of your output is delegated to AI and you haven't learned the fundamentals well enough to be able to tell good from bad and high quality from slop. So really, I think there's never been a more difficult time to learn programming. And the reason for that is that everybody who's already learned programming, AI is making them so much better at what they do, or at least faster. You could argue whether it's making them better, but it's making them faster, it's making them more efficient. But if you've never developed those fundamentals, you're going to have a much harder time doing that, because every time, whether it's in academia or an internship or whatever, if you're still trying to learn and build up your foundations, all of the incentives are going to be there for you to use AI to ship something faster, or to learn something quicker, or to finish an assignment quicker. And really, it's going to be to your detriment if you do that, because you're not going to develop the foundations as a software engineer or machine learning engineer or whatever it is that you need to really be able to judge whether the output that you're getting is good or bad. And frankly, it's also it's hurting your core competence as an engineer. Like a lot of what you're going to do as an engineer is debugging stuff and optimizing stuff. And if you have no experience doing any of that on your own, then why would a company hire you instead of just giving a senior or mid-level engineer more Claude Code credits? Like, it's a pretty bad deal. And so I do think that the industry with the greatest potential for growth, or maybe not the greatest potential for growth relative to where it is now, but one of the industries that has the ability to take you from being, an average person to being extremely successful. Like, software is still one of those industries where if you find a company and you build a software company, you can go from 0 to 100 super easily. But I feel like the barrier to becoming the type of proficient software engineer that can create that sort of company has actually been made more difficult by AI. It's very easy to build stuff with AI, to like throw a website together, or to make a CRUD app, but making actually good software that endures and is able to scale is another thing entirely. And if you're someone who is in school right now and you're crushing AI heavily in that in that academic curriculum, then you're going to never develop the skills that you need to actually build and scale stuff in the way that a business would expect you to. And so really, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's not that it's never been harder to learn programming, and it's not that AI is making learning programming harder. It's just AI is making learning to program well less lucrative. A lot of people are going to take the easy way out of having AI generate code for them. And when you know what good code looks like and you are already competent in the field, that's one thing. But if you don't know shit and you're letting AI make all the decisions for you and produce all the output for you, then you can't tell slop from good quality. And so you're really not going to be producing good output as a result. I would say the same is true for math. Like, if you're using AI to assist you in proofs, or if you're using AI to assist you in your problem sets, that's one thing. If you already have a strong mathematical foundation, you're just saying, hey, I've explored this idea, this idea, this idea. I'm struggling to find the solution. Can you help me? And the AI's ability to help you solve problems, especially difficult research problems, is going to largely be dependent on how good of context you can give it. A lot of these open problems that have been solved by AI recently have been people who are experts in the field that the problem resides in, giving the AI very good context and giving it very good prompts to help explore the solution space of that problem. But I was starting to talk about math because I was saying the opposite would be somebody who doesn't have the theoretical background to understand the math that they're doing. And so they're just saying like, hey, help me solve this integral, dude. Like, I don't know how to solve this integral. Do it for me. And the AI could walk you through the steps and maybe you'd understand them, maybe you wouldn't. But if you haven't done those sort of computations yourself, you haven't recognized those patterns, then maybe you can understand the solution as the AI presents it to you, but you certainly won't be able to reconstruct it yourself. And I think that's the biggest disadvantage of people who are still learning and still in school right now, is that AI makes it very easy to complete assignments and to make you think you understand what's going on when in reality you don't. So you can produce the output, you can solve math problems, you can write code, you can you can stand up apps on localhost and you think that you're a software developer, but you're going to be rudely mistaken, or you'll be rudely awakened and find that you're mistaken when you encounter people that really do solve problems, hard problems that aren't just easily looked up on the internet, and who do build real software that scales and actually serves real customers, not just a local host app on your computer. So if I could impart any advice on people that are still in school or are starting school or even just considering starting school, it would be, don't be a Luddite. Don't fully do away with AI. Like, use AI to your advantage when it's reasonable, but you cannot use it in lieu of developing fundamentals, whether it's math or programming, but really especially programming. There's a certain level of concepts that you just have to learn yourself, and you can't take any shortcuts, because if you don't develop those fundamentals, you're never going to have the base you need to expand into more esoteric skills that will make you a good software engineer in whatever field it is you want to specify in. So just some examples of that would be like core programming fundamentals, like what is a function, what is a class, what are conditional statements, what are loops, all of these things that you should just know. Like, regardless of what language you're working with, you could be looking at a language that you've never seen before. You should be able to understand the structure of those core components. If you don't know what that is, and you're having Claude implement functions and classes for you, and you don't even know what a function or a class is, like, that's a sign to take a step back, and you need to figure out the fundamentals of programming before you touch any AI. I would say, just as a blanket suggestion, and you can adjust this to your curriculum however you would want, you really should not use any AI for any of your academics until maybe I would honestly say maybe junior year, but at least until sophomore year, dude. There is nothing in freshman year that is so difficult that you need AI to help you. Like, I can promise you that. I went through my freshman and sophomore year without any AI being available to help me with my courses, and so I promise you can do it. And building those fundamentals yourself and being confident in your knowledge and your ability, that is infinitely more valuable than finishing your homework, an hour early. You just got to trust me on this. Like, I know in the moment you're going to have the incentive to just get stuff done early and save time and save frustration, but it's not worth it, dude. Like, if you're going to school and you're spending money, you need to make the most of it, and making the most of it means actually knowing what you're doing when you graduate. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. I think a lot of people would disagree with just the premise of the title that I'm going to give it, but I think if you listen to what I'm saying is not that it's harder than ever to learn programming, period. I'm saying it's harder than ever to learn the fundamentals of programming starting from zero when you have AI right at your fingertips to do all of these things for you. And when it does all those things for you, it really inhibits you developing these core fundamental skills that you're going to need to apply, interdisciplinary across all sorts of software engineering domains. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. People like me who have already made it through the academic curriculum without AI and are now using AI in their jobs, in their workflows, in their research, like, I don't have to tell you guys this. You guys, I would hope you understand that it's important to know the core concepts of a field or a technical endeavor before using AI to produce all the output for you. But really, if I'm talking to someone, I'm talking to people that are in the education system right now, primarily in the early years of university. Please just trust me and learn these things on your own. Not only is it going to set you apart from your classmates and that you actually understand what your major is about, but when the time comes when you can use AI to accelerate your learning or to build things faster, you'll be able to do it well. And you'll be doing it in a way where you're in control and you know what's going on, rather than just, setting Claude in auto mode and hoping it doesn't delete your production database. I saw something on Twitter about that today. That's not a joke. Some dude lost his whole database because Claude fucked up the migration. But yeah, that's the end of this video. Just, common sense video, but I think it still needs to be said because a lot of people in school right now are not following that common sense. But yeah, I also wanted to remark, I have a tutoring business. I do math tutoring for high school level math, ACT and SAT prep, and university level math at any level. if you're interested or you know someone who's interested, you're struggling with math, you know someone who's struggling with math, let me help you out. We can do a free consultation. Go to my website at www.kehrtutoring.com. That's Kuehr tutoring.com. Get a free consultation with me. Let's figure something out. Let me help you. And yeah, other than that, that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you all have a good one.